This episode deals with sensitive topics around sexual abuse. If you or someone you know is in immediate harm, call 111 or call Crisis Line on 0800 733 843.
I would offer them an ear just to listen, because really that's all I really wanted was just someone to hear me.
This podcast is proudly supported by the Ōtara Network Action Committee, ōNAC Community-Owned, Community-Driven and Community-Led.
That's a great look. You could do
Better
that.
not.
Tēnā mai tātou, ko Judy Speight, hey. I'm here today with the amazing Fotu. Fotu and I were doing a bit of a project the other day, and I said to her, I really, really would love it if you would come on a podcast with us. And she said, yep. So welcome to our homegrown podcast studio where we
This is my first ever podcast.
Excellent.
And no better people to do it with than with Acceleration Ōtara, Aotearoa.
What I was saying to Vinny and Will about the podcast was we actually need to talk to Fotu because, she's bred 5 children, created 5 children, and 4 of them are international representatives, and the other one's only 11. So who knows where she's going to be going?
Well, hopefully she's going the same down the same path as her brothers, but
her own path, probably. Of course.
Her own path, but
greatness.
The good path. No getting in trouble or any of that. But we all experience good and bad, in life, and I think that we as parents we guide the way, but up to them, their choices as to what's good for them. We've already taught them what's good for you and what's not good for you, but at the end of the day, it's up to them, But as long as we instill the foundations of, of morals and principles and, just anything to help another.
It's like creating the foundation.
And always support another before themselves. That's something that I strongly believe in how you get the blessings from God is by helping another, not helping yourself. That's how you help yourself is by helping others, and that's something that I truly believe in. And as an Ōtarian, a loud and proud Ōtarian, I'm proud that I thank the Lord first and foremost for everything that I've gotten in this world, but especially the protection of my kids, I think that they've been blessed in this world to have represented their own country and to represent Ōtara, born and bred in Ōtara, they know no other. And I believe that their humble beginnings began with an associate of yours that you work closely with, which was Sully Paia. Yeah.
Oh, Sully's amazing.
Sully ran he ran like a, what do you call it? Like a group called SOAR. Back then was to soar forward,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard about SOAR.
Yeah, it was with Cross Power. Yeah. So it was just across from Cross Power in the same area. But that's where my boys started from, because Sully used to run a group of, young adults, boys, guys, who would go around to parks and help with all the local kids in the parks and run games and so forth, And
that was the SOAR group?
Yeah, that was a SOAR group as well as Cross Power. That's when they worked together. And then with Alan Va'a, late Alan Va'a, bless his soul. But, so that's how my boys got into it. First they danced for hip-hop with SOAR, and then they got scouted by Desire Academy, which is who they...
Are they still dancing with the Desire?
They used to, but no, they're all too old now. They all got their kids and their partners and doing their family thing. Yeah. I have 2 of them who are now in Australia and trying to work hard in Australia for their families to go over, and I'm still crying, like, come back home to the promised land.
I think that's probably a nice...
Don't go over there.
A nice thing for you to share, though, with people listening is, your philosophy on, the kids saying, hey, Mum, come over here. It's really great on the Gold Coast, GC. And you're saying, nah.
If you can't make it in the country that you are in, then what makes you think that you can make it work elsewhere, where the expectations are so much higher? Australia's their what do you call it? Their cost of living is so much higher. Their expectations and how you live so much higher. And if you don't reach those heights, you get shoved to
the back of the queue.
To the wop-wops, they call it.
The back of the queue.
And, what's the difference then from that and here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I see every time, you talk about service and you talk about putting others before you, and I see this amazingly humble woman that serves her community every day of every moment. And before we talk about the specifics of the projects that we worked on, maybe could you tell me a bit about your childhood? I know nothing about where you grew up. Were you born in Ōtara?
No, I was born in Samoa, and I came when I was 3. And so from my knowledge of what I was told by my nana, we moved here and we were situated in Kingsland to start. And then my mum found us a house in Ponsonby, Greyland.
Yep.
Yeah, it was in between Ponsonby and Greyland. So I first started at Richmond Road Primary School.
Yeah.
And I just found out that I was at school the same time The Rock was there.
Wow.
I didn't recognize him then.
Before he got so handsome.
I was like, if I had known, I would have eyed him up then. But he was only here for a few months, I think, for a couple of years. Dwayne Johnson, I'm talking about The Rock.
No.
He went to Richmond Road Primary School.
He went to school out in Ōtara too, though, didn't he? Briefly.
No.
I thought. I don't know.
No, but he had family. Because you know how that was around the time that all us islanders were migrating, getting migrated back out to south, because we were, I think all islanders that came those days were all in Greyland, those areas.
Ponsonby,
and then when they wanted
living
to turn it into poshy-washy, and then we all got shifted out these ways, Because, I think my mum sold our house for quite a lot of money compared to what she paid for it, apparently. So, yeah.
So that actually gives you a
So I went
place.
to Richmond Road Primary. Bless God that he brought me into Central. I don't think I would be the person that I am and show appreciation for Ōtara if I wasn't. If I wasn't, if I hadn't seen what you call the richer side of life in Auckland, and it taught me certain morals and ways that I brought over here to South Auckland, and because there's a certain staunchness too in Central and just like in West Side and East, and
so you've got a foot in each camp. Ōtara and Ponsonby.
And then I went to Ponsonby Intermediate for the 2 years. And then that's when we migrated out to South and we moved into Mangere. And I went to Ōtara College. And that was in 1985. And that's the year my mum passed. On the day that she was enrolling me to Ōtara College. So, yeah. So I grew up pretty fast after... in third form. I didn't really have a good childhood. When people come and cry to me about their lives and what they're going through, and then I tell them my story of my life, they soon dry up their tears and then they cry for my life. And I'm like, no. Everything bad that happens in your life, you got to learn the lesson from it. There's always a good lesson, that you get from it. Like, And perpetrators were my own family, as we all know is usually the case.
Yeah.
And due to that, so most people would have grown up angry, which I was, hurt, and feeling disgusted in myself somewhat,
I think it's really important to talk about the real stuff, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a place where you can
Well,
do
I think
that.
it's very healing and very helpful to others too, because there's a lot of youngies now that I know for certain that these things are happening to.
Yeah.
You know, not only girls but boys as well.
Yeah.
You know,
And they feel they
and I
can't talk
see it in
about
the
it.
signs, because there's always signs. You know, and it's really hard for me as a victim or ex-victim, you know, to see what I believe from the signs that, you know, that this child might be getting molested or something's going on that's not right. And the hardest part about being a Samoan, I can't speak about any other nationality, but as a Samoan, they have this thing where don't embarrass the family name, you know. It's more important for them to hide what's happened than to damage the family name. Does that make sense?
Is that something to do with
Because
it?
after my mom passed, it took me about 8 years before I could forgive her, before I could let it go. And I used to do some pretty stupid things. Like I'd get drunk and smack my head against things. And like for years.
So that was your response to being sexually molested as a child?
Sexually molested, my mom passing, and then what my dad tried to do to me. And then, you know, and just all my anger was just focused on my mom for not being there, you know, not protecting us. But that was before I learned the lesson. And that was before I understood why my mother did it. You know?
Let it happen.
Because it must have happened to her. And then it must have happened to her mother. It must have happened, you know, for them to carry on the cycle and not be able to speak up and, you know, tell your mother. You know, people will always ask me that. Why didn't you tell your parents? You've never been in this situation, so don't tell me what I should have done and shouldn't have done, because you've never been in that situation. You freeze as a child. You know, when you're being told, you're being threatened by an adult, you know, and then you know if you tell your mother or your father that they're going to give you a hiding or tell you to be quiet, don't say anything, because the family will talk about them, you know. So, yeah. So it was a pretty hard place to be in, you know. I was a rebel as a teenager.
But most of that was you just reacting to your experience.
Yeah. So when I see kids now and going through sort of the same, like, things that I went through, it often makes me wonder, you know, poor thing, I wonder what they're going through at home. You know, I never blame the kids, because it's never the kids' fault. You know, kids only react in certain ways because of what they're going through. Yeah. But I think my kids were blessed because I was able to talk to them, you know, openly about anything, you know, whether it be about sex or whether it be about everyday life or be about sports or be about whatever they're going through. I mean, my boys were able to come and show me their personal parts, you know, when there was something wrong down there. You know, that was but growing up as a mother, being a mother, it was really hard for me to deal with my boys down that area because of the memories of what I went through, sort of thing. Like, it made me feel like I was being dirty, you know, when I was just being a mom to my kids. But I was always careful about that sort of thing because of those experiences,
How do you feel that you healed yourself?
God.
From
I didn't heal myself. I know for a fact that God loved me because there was suicide times. There were, real bad suicide times. I'd go get drunk in town, get so wasted, and then drive home, wonder how I got home when I wake up in the morning. But that's how I knew that God was always with me. It's because He knows my heart. Like, I know I'm a good person. Like, I'm an angry person at times, but but I'm a good person. Like,
So what I'm thinking about is, what would you say to another child that was having the same experience as you?
Yeah. See, I always wanted to work in that field, as a social worker in that field, I would offer them an ear just to listen, because really that's all I really wanted was just someone to hear me, and that I know would make me feel safe and it's all right that you told me, that... Because half of the fear that a person has, I believe, or a child has in telling someone is that it might come back on them and then they get in trouble, That's the main fear I believe that kids have. Because they always get made to feel like it's their fault. Yeah. But I think I grew really strong from it. I the one lesson that I believe that it taught me was to, even though I had 4 boys, every time we'd have a party, there'll be people over, I would have my lessons in the room with my kids, close the door. If anyone comes in here, you make sure you scream, shout, whatever, kick, bite, whatever. Whoever comes in here and touches you or does anything stupid to you, those were the lessons. So that's the good lesson that I learned from what happened with me. Because that's what I wanted from my parents. Get the hell up, because this was how I grew up, around gambling and drinking. If it wasn't the horses, it was poker nights. From Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes Monday. All-nighters. Yeah. And then we were the cleanup crew, me and my siblings.
Before school?
Yeah, before school, go collect all the beer bottles. And I always remember this one morning, and my sister had just come out of the bath. We just finished up getting ready to go to school, and we were told, go and clean up all the bottles in the front. My sister went and drank a bottle of beer, got so tipsy. My mom walked in, she just fell asleep. But, those were the memories. And I found me lunch money how many times, underneath the mats. And, there were the happy times of, so-called fake happy. But, yeah. But underlining all of those smilings and laughing, there was all that yucky things happening. Yeah. I think I protected a lot of my cousins, my girl cousins, because it was all of us in the room while all the parents were, and while the night crawlers are crawling around while they're playing poker. Like, how stupid can you be as a parent? Like, really? That you don't think, get up, go and check on the girls. That person's been gone for a while. Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't like that for your kids?
No.
Yeah, because you took all of those
my girl
lessons.
now, my one and only girl, she's sick of me asking her. Every male that comes around her, I'm forever asking her, has he touched you? Has he done anything? And she's like, Mom, I will tell you. I will promise I will tell you if anything like that happens. You better.
So is that the message for every kid? To find something you can tell?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because with this league team that I'm doing.
Do you want to introduce that somehow?
Yes.
How do we start the conversation?
Okay. Yeah. It's just in relative to to what we're conversating about. There's a young lady that plays in our team, but she hasn't been registered, and she didn't really have anything to say the first time she came through, but she was just watching, and then apparently she must have been vaping. Yeah, at 11 years old, vaping, and my daughter had seen her, you know, and then my daughter said to her, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "What? I'm vaping. I'm allowed." And she's like, "No, you're not." And she's like, "Why?" "'Cause my mom." And this is my daughter. "'Cause my mom." Because my daughter knows, I will smack you to kingdom come if I ever catch one of those things in your mouth.
Yeah, a bit like that with our kids too.
My daughter must have said, "That's going to kill you, you know, with this vaping. That will kill you." And she said something along the lines of, "I don't care, I want to die anyway." You know, and my daughter told me this when we got home, you know, and it just made me think about, you know, what these kids are going through that us adults are not really paying attention to. You know, we just see them for just being kids. You know, when you have a whole heap of kids, you just see them all as kids. You're not really focusing on the kid individually. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're just looking at the overall picture. Oh, yeah, it's just a kid. You know, we're not really looking at the kid and paying attention to their actions, their ways.
And their whys.
Yeah, you know, why they...
So when you talked before about the signs, do you think that kind of actually not thinking that you're worthless is actually a sign that that child's possibly been abused?
Yeah, whether it be emotional, physical, or mentally, you know, kids are not the same as us back then. That's what we need to realize, is that this generation weren't built like us. There hasn't been so many prevention of suicide organizations put together like in this generation. In our generation, we never even spoke about it. It wasn't even, you know, allowed to be spoken about. It wasn't even a thought. Back in our day, like back when my mom and them, they never, you know, they would be like, "Boot the ass, harden up." With us, it's more like we're pampering the problem.
So what should we be doing? What's your response to the 11-year-old that vapes, that says my life's not worth living? What will you do? Because I know you will.
Well, I want to find out first who her parents are. I don't want to pry into their lives and be a wannabe, fix it up, everything. But no, I need to understand whoever's in my care, in my time. I need to understand where they come from, who they come from, you know, so that I have a better understanding of her situation. But I will get to a point where I'll talk to her. But she came for that 1-2 trainings and then didn't turn up for the last one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you're just building the trust.
So I'm just talking to her friends that brought her into the team, just asking them little questions of, "Oh, where did she stay and who is she?" And yeah. But I love all Ōtara kids. You know, I'll do anything for any Ōtara kid because I know what they're going through. You know, like a lot of us parents are addicted to somewhat drug, whether it be weed or some other drug, but yeah, we're addicted to some drug, and I guess our kids have to pay for it, but I don't know, I see it as a way of hardening them up, you know, like see if you can do it. See if you can do the drug that you choose and do life at the same time. Especially the life that we've been dealt, like, terrible. Terrible to be segregated back over here into.
Do you think about, like, a vision, you know, what should the government be doing about this? What should the cops be doing about it? What should social welfare be doing about it?
About what?
About the fact we've got children improving their service to our communities.
Well, I think that they should improve the quality of educators, for starters. For starters, because they've got so many teachers now that have no life experiences with our kids. You know, we got, sorry, with no puns intended, but we have European teachers that live in areas like Pakuranga, Remuera, those Howick, and coming to teach Ōtara kids with no understanding of what kind of life we come from. They're just coming with their teaching skills to teach. There's no empathy between the two, which is what we grew up on. You know, we grew up on the
same
empathy,
dynamic.
on the empathy of our teachers. You know, having a teacher that cared enough to see that there's a problem with you, you know, and come and ask you, are you all right? Are you hungry? But not pry in the fact that they will get you in trouble by telling your parents, oh, well, your child came and told me this and this and this and that, not knowing that's going to cause this child to get a hiding, you know. But nowadays, they don't even care.
Okay, so let's cheer ourselves up. Let's talk about the awesome stuff you're doing at the moment. I wanted to say, a bit of talk about the league team. So the exciting thing with the league team was, you know, when you came to me that day and said, why don't we apply for some money so we can get some proper sports gear for these kids? And how exciting that's been. I mean, we're a bit disappointed that somewhere they misjudged a couple of decimal points, but at least we got something.
Couple of zeros there, right? Missing, but
we can try again.
Yes,
we can try again.
But I'm excited that we got something.
Yeah,
you know?
And I'm excited of your vision of this, like, really broad. You know, this is a way to get to know a group of 11-year-old girls and see what you can do to change their
perspective in life.
Yes, their perspective and their learning opportunities and their chances at becoming New Zealand representatives.
And also
you're
for
good at
them to recognise that the bad things that they're doing will affect their parents. Like I said, when I went to training on Wednesday, I had a little, you know, I saw a little group of them coming from a distance, and then I asked them, so what were you guys doing over there? Were you guys vaping? Straight away, no, miss, you can check my bag. You know, we're really fast when we're lying, eh? We talk really fast when we're lying.
So were they?
I don't know, but I take their word for it, you know.
That they were.
That's my way of building my trust with them, you know. I'll take your word for it, but you're the one who has to carry the guilt if you're lying to me, you know. And so I text their parents.
Yeah.
I text their parents and I just to confirm, if your girls were vaping, are they allowed? You know? And they said, absolutely not.
But it's that connection then too, isn't it, between you and the parents?
Oh, I'm very much about the parent.
Yeah.
In order to get the full trust of a child, you have to go through the parents. You can't just take the child's word for it, take whatever they say, because you know what we were like. We'll say anything whatever. No such thing as a perfect child, nor a perfect parent. So there was that. I'm loving it. I'm loving the
But it was also that whole idea about bringing the mum and dad and some more broader learning. Yeah. So is that where the chickens fit in?
Well, I'm doing chickens because I want to feed my community with eggs. You know, that won't cost them an arm and a leg. But that won't happen for another, I don't know, a year or so.
How big are the chicks now?
No, they haven't got any chicks yet.
Okay.
I'm still in the building part of it. So, but I'm
the
excited.
run creation. So we can put a pony in there if you get it wrong. It looks big enough. And what about that little whare that you built out the back of your house?
Yeah, well, that's been put into use now. I have Bible studies in there, and I have the girls come over and have a visual training where they watch the games and get a better perspective on how the game runs, and just to increase their knowledge and improve their knowledge.
We should help
on the
you,
game.
and I'll put this on the podcast so that we don't forget. she'll help you some food for that too, so that you're not, make sure that with the food banks work.
All the most of the boxes of food that I get from here, that's who I give it to.
To those
because
families?
they come from families where there's about 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 children.
Not forgetting the fact you made lunch for us the other day.
Oh,
It was amazing. Very special. That was.
But
really
I love
special.
cooking for people. It's pretty stink that it's just me and Jalissa Ann at home, because everything I cook for her, she's like, oh no, I'm just gonna make my own. So she just usually just cooks her own.
Has she gone through the vegetarian stage yet?
No.
It'll come.
No, she loves her veggies now, but they have to be cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't do raw veggies, but they have to be cooked and all. But I just want to put it out there to all the mothers, that have, don't stress on your kids. It's a lot easier than you're making it out. We make things harder for ourselves by stressing out.
Yeah.
I think kids are pretty simple. You just need to understand them and, what they like, what they don't like. It doesn't mean that you have to give them everything they want, but, everything they need is pretty good and sufficient.
So is that your message on successful child raising for mums in Ōtara, or whānau in Ōtara?
Well, I'm a strong believer in, to spare your child, you got to spoil the rod, because I've spoiled the rod on my boys and look at how they turned out.
Yeah.
No prison, no gang, 2 became teachers, and all 4 have represented New Zealand and Ōtara. So it's a pretty good...
Can't argue with that, can you?
Well, It's a pretty good testimony, It's like proof that, what God says works. Have you noticed that with many spoiled kids, that's what I don't get about people. Why do you want to spoil your child when all you hear from people is, ooh, whose spoiled brat is that? Who does that spoiled brat belong to?
Well, more to the point, what does that create as an adult?
Yes, exactly. I believe that spoiled children grow up to be very rude people. Because they don't really care who says what, even though it's good for them.
So have you got one message that you would share with people that are watching this podcast about that sums up your love for Ōtara and the amazing outcomes that you're creating?
Just look out for your children. Really, we got to remember that we are the example for our children. So when you're on crack and your child comes to you and you find out that your child is on crack, what are you going to say to your child? Don't do it.
How did they learn how to do that?
Exactly. So pay attention to what you say, what you do around your children, because that's what they're there for. They're a reflection of you. That I found out the hard way, because I never had parents or grandparents to tell me how I was as a child. But I saw it through my kids and
that's
through my
that
girl.
whole word mokopuna, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
reflection.
You're a reflection of,
Go you.